Just on the Harland piece, there's a guy I follow on Twitter who's very, very funny, and he's a big City fan. And he said, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something like, is it time to have a conversation about Harland? And he basically said, I'm kind of getting tired of people saying, oh, but he ties up defenders. Now, obviously, they're defending deep and everything.
Yeah.
Is it a bit harsh? I mean, are we in a situation
what do you want from him then? In a game like yesterday, what would you want from him?
Okay, but you can't tell me he can only operate in space, right?
No. I know. So yesterday, you want him to be more involved in your build-up play? Is that what it is?
That's a fair point. No, I wouldn't, because I would want to keep him in the box and be there and tie up the defenders, which I guess is exactly what he did. But I think people might look at this and say, well, wait a minute. You're the best center forward in the world, or close to it, and you don't have an impact, or you're not decisive in these two games.
Yeah.
I think that is a fair accusation. Like, he's not the only one who wasn't decisive. And you know, in the end, after the fact, we lionize him as a hero if they go through, because that's how public opinion works, and saying, oh, he tied up the defenders, whatever. But it does strike me to the point where he actually takes him off for, you know, my thoughts on Julien Alvarez, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, really? What do you get, a set piece laid on, something like that? I don't know what message. I don't
know what people expect, though. That's the thing, because we say he hasn't been decisive. Just give me a chance that he had in the two games. Okay, the header on the bar yesterday, and that's even like it is a chance, but it's not a like clear cut, super easy chance. So No, you guys, but just somebody tells me, there he should have done better and should have scored. He had no opportunity to score in those two games, really. So then we're saying, okay, be involved in everything else then if you can't score because there's not really any service.
Or take the two center backs out of the game.
Yeah.
Which you could argue that he largely did.
Yeah, and the way that City play with positional play, if he's trying to drop deeper, Pep will scream at him and say, this is not what I want you to do. This is not what you're doing in this team.
No, and
everybody in this team has a position. This is called positional play. And the ball moves a lot. And the ball doesn't move to him until it's a chance for him to finish, to score. This is it. I don't think Pep really wants him in a game like this, again, at all, I'm saying. Want him to drop deeper, to be near Akanji and Rodri, and to try to take the ball and dribble past two people and shoot from 20 yards in the top corner. One, is not what he does, and two, I'm not sure that's what Pep wants him to do.
No, and especially not with Kevin De Bruyne out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Incidentally, I actually thought was exceptional. We can always
apart
find
from
fault.
The chance. Yeah, it's just the second one. He has to score that one.
We can always find fault with De Bruyne and stuff, but you realize when he's good, in my opinion, how much better he is than almost anybody else. Who plays his...
The awareness of space is just ridiculous.
Can we show some love for Rudiger and Nacho? Just as a reminder here about who these two guys are, right? Rudiger is a guy... I'm not saying he was overlooked when he was little, but, you know, Stuttgart, Roma, Chelsea, does well.
And then disappears.
But, sorry?
There was a time at Chelsea where he was not even on the bench.
Yeah, because he was seen as purely physical, not good on the ball. Not only did both these guys take penalties, both these guys double-teamed Harland during the game and, effectively kept him quiet. Other than that header, both these guys are Madrid's reserve center backs, because if everybody's fit, it's Eder Militao and David Alaba.
Yeah.
Nacho, especially at his age, playing all season long. I mean, this is a guy who's like, oh, look, let's extend his contract by 1 year every year because, look, he can play all four positions. Know? And by the way, younger listeners, when a player is versatile and can play all four positions at the back, it generally means he's not that good, because if he were good, he would be playing the same position and the other people would be moving around him. Not an overall rule, but those versatile jack-of-all-trade players are generally the guys who do that to get playing time. I thought on the night,
amazing.
I mean, both of them. Rudiger could have won the game with that late chance.
Then that's what makes Rudiger as well. Like he He just hit it completely. He was just not ready for it. If he could score those, he would be the best defender in the world because technically he would be that good.
Right.
Instead, we saw the ball went on the M1.
So
M6.
shout out to the two of them.
Yeah.
Shout out to Toni Kroos as well in a game with no Tchouaméni. And I really think this was, of the people who are missing, okay, other than Courtois, but then Courtois has been out all year. So you kind of got used to it. I thought Tchouaméni's absence, I was like, all right, this is really going to be a problem. I thought Toni Kroos, while he was on the pitch, was fantastic.
Just calm and composed so much.
I thought Camavinga did his part too.
They ran a lot. Him and Valverde just had to be there to run and close passing angles. That's all they did.
But I know, since you like the bling, you want to talk about Bellingham's first touch.
So I watched him I was pitch side pre-match before the game, and I watched him at warm-up, and I was literally, I think he could see, like my heart was just pounding for him. I was like watching him, simply doing, him and Toni Kroos were doing like diagonals and controlling the ball, and it was just so beautiful and perfect, and I loved Jude Bellingham so much. And then I thought people after the first leg were a little bit harsh, talking about that he just didn't show up in that first leg, which he didn't. It was a tough game, though, to show up, I think, for everyone, because he was all so intense and everything. And I kind of knew there would be something special, I think, in this game from him at some point. And I thought that first touch, God, the ball is so high in the air, really high. I don't know if you could see on television, but being low at the ground and seeing it is so high. And I think in his mind, he already knew exactly what he was going to do next, so that his first touch had to come backwards in a way, although he was ahead of the ball. And I think this is the beauty of it. I think a lot of those players can control the ball even if the ball is high, right? I can probably still do it. But the way that he does it, going backwards, because he knows that then the ball goes towards the right for Valverde to then Vinicius to Rodrigo, is just absolute genius. I don't think I've seen a better first touch this season in any league, any player.
It was so good. When I saw it the first time, I thought, he miscontrolled it. He was lucky. And then you watch it and you say, no, this is exactly what he's trying to do. His body shape is all wrong when he does it. As you said, he's going in different directions.
Yeah. So
this is one of those moments of skill
that Zidane would do.
Yeah, or Del Piero.
Yeah, exactly.
We got to talk about Bernardo Silva as well. Moved around the pitch. I don't think he had an impactful game. I was kind of surprised that he stayed on, given the options that they had on the bench. Grealish didn't do too much necessarily, or wasn't. I think they dealt well with Grealish.
Yeah. Carvajal did well.
He put the work. He put in the work.
Yeah.
And sometimes one-on-one, you got to leave him out there. Bernardo Silva, not so much. And then it comes to the penalty, and they made a big deal out of this on television. That I don't know how obvious it was in the stadium. And again, so you got initiated. You might wonder, really, in a Champions League semifinal? But the ball had gone into the stands, and it wasn't coming back. And we had this moment where Orsato, the referee, is kind of like waving his arms and saying, guys, we need a ball here.
Yeah.
And it was probably just a few seconds. It felt like an eternity.
Yeah.
And then Bernardo Silva goes and takes the worst penalty of his career. So two questions. One is, are those two things linked? And B, what happened?
I think he had in his mind to do that, really. So anticipating.
What, chip the ball slowly in the middle?
So it's not even a chip, because it's just it's a pass that goes high. You see the ball going up. I think he just thinks that Julien is going to dive right or left, low, you would think. So then that ball, you don't even have to put power in it. You just lift it with the inside of your foot, and he's going to go under the bar, and that's it. It's going in. Except that Julien, whether he saw it coming or not, because maybe Bernardo takes a lot of them centrally like that. I don't know. I haven't checked, to be fair.
Well, he doesn't take that many penalties anyway. So.
Yeah, true. But he was clearly waiting for it. Or he saw it coming because of the way Bernardo was running in his body. I don't know. But one of those, which is a bit like when you try a panenka and it doesn't work out. And by the way, this is not a panenka.
No.
This is not a chip. This is not a panenka. He just tried to hit it high and just under the bar with no power because he was anticipating the dive. When you do them well, or when it works, great. When he doesn't, you look
Let
like
me send this out
like
to
stupid.
To people out there and commentators. You're right. This is not a panenka. It's not like every time somebody chips the ball ends up being chipped. It's a Panenka. If you want to educate yourself on a Panenka, I'm not being boastful here, but I traveled all the way to Prague.
You did.
To speak to Mr. Panenka.
You did.
I showed him a whole bunch of Panenkas on YouTube, and I said, is this a Panenka? Is this not a Panenka? And he educated me exactly on what a Panenka is. So since he trademarked the name, he gets to decide what's a Panenka. And I'm sure, were he with us, he would say, no. That is most definitely not a Panenka. Leave it on City.
Were you surprised that Modric missed his pen? Is it hard to take a pen when you haven't really been in the game? I know he came on and played
a good
bit.
20, 25 minutes.
Yes, but even when he played, they defended so much, he was not involved that much.
Look, I mean, it's a penalty. People say it's not a lottery. You can study for them. No, you can't. You can really just improve your odds. That's all you can do. So stuff happens. I don't think he was as impactful when he played, and maybe that stuck with him.
Yeah.
When he took the penalty, I was not surprised by when Ederson stepped up, because it does kind of send a message, I think, psychologically to the other team, right? When you look, Ederson, we know he's very good with his feet, but the dude never takes penalties except in shootouts. So I don't know whether this was pre-planned from Pep. I assume it was. It does send a message to the other team and maybe even to the other players, like, it's still a goalkeeper taking it.
Yeah, right? There's nobody else better kind of thing.
Yeah, he was, third up, something like that. And then Rudiger and Nacho, I can't say enough about them converting their penalties in the way they did. In terms of City, back-to-back trebles would have been historic. Yeah. I think there's nothing wrong in referencing it, because let's face it, they're favorites to win the FA Cup. They were favorites to win the Premier League. Yeah. They are favorites to win the Premier League, and they were favorites to win the Champions League. So it's entirely fair to do that. Would have been stratospheric in terms of events on the pitch. On paper, I would assume they're now even more favorites to win the Premier League. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, that's all they can. I mean, they will have the semi-final of the FA Cup at the weekend, but then they can only focus fully on the Premier League. You don't need to rotate. You don't need to rest people, because that's all you have to play for. Yeah. And there's a reason why only one team in the last 30 years have gone back-to-back in the Champions League, because it's that hard to win it again, even if you've won it once. So it was always going to be, I think, a long shot to keep that Champions League trophy. I guess they can be super disappointed the way it happened, though. But it's the way over the two legs.
Well, disappointed, but Pep said we couldn't have done anything more.
No, but you still 3-2 up at some point away at the Bernabeu. If Valverde doesn't score that incredible volley, if you don't concede that third goal, you go home 3-2 lead. Might be different. Could you have avoided that Rodrigo goal? I mean, it's a terrible... we haven't touched on it too much. But, okay, the Bellingham touch is great. But after that, the way Walker covers Vinicius on that ball and is obviously onside, even the way Bellingham is onside and the way he's allowed to let the ball go down. We always say never let the ball bounce like that. They do. So it's a terrible goal to concede, really. If Rodrigo hits it with his shin and then he's got the rebound. So
there was a matter of fortune in that.
Yeah, of course. So I don't know. I would think that, and then you lose on pens. In your
you can always second guess. Yeah. If they go out, Real Madrid can also second guess too about the Rudiger miss and whatnot.
True. There just was not much between the two.